Welcome everyone to this evening's Academy Masterclass. For those of you who are in Canada and America, good afternoon. I know you're a few hours behind us there. And for the one person who I believe is going to be online soon from Australia, for the benefit of the recording, early good morning to you there. So this is a plain speaking guide to attracting business using great Facebook content, and it's going to be delivered by Rachel Perry. I'm just going to check in that everyone can hear me. So what you'll find, guys, those of you who are online, that there's a little box and it should allow you to either enter chat or enter questions in there. So if you can all, thanks Tony, if you can all just type in there that you can hear me. Thanks Dan. Simon, yeah. And you should be able to see the slide. I had a bit of a glitch on the last webinar I did, so if you can just let me know you can see the slide that has on the front of it a plain speaking guide to attracting business. One of you can just confirm that. So you should be able to see a slide that says Academy Masterclass, a plain speaking guide. If any of you can type in there, Tony or Dan, if you can just put in there that you can see my first slide. Yep, you can see okay, lovely. Thanks very much. Thanks, Janie. So just moving on then. Today we're going to talk about techniques for creating content for your business Facebook page. And obviously this Academy Masterclass is brought to you by my Sterling Marketing Academy. And each webinar focuses on one area of the Academy. And it brings in a guest speaker normally to give you expert but very plain speaking tips to maximize your success in the area that we're talking about. And obviously there's going to be an opportunity to ask Rachel some questions at the end. There is going to be an offer at the end, so please stay tuned right till the end and you'll hear about Rachel's great offer that she's providing to you as attendees. So your takeaways for tonight, during this masterclass, we're hoping that you're going to develop ideas to keep content fresh on your Facebook page. So keeping the content fresh, exciting. You're going to learn how to make your business content relevant to topical conversation. And you're going to learn a simple system for planning your business Facebook activity. And as the title says of this, what we're hoping to do is that by creating great content, you can attract not only new business, but attract existing business and more from the people that you're already working with. So just a few general housekeeping tips. What you will find on your little control panel, there's a little hand. So again, if you can hear me okay, just click the hand button. Just let me know that that function's working okay on your control panel. Great. A few of you doing that there. Thanks very much. So I'm just going to lower those all for you. We're going to be a few instances where we're going to take you off mute and ask you what you've learned so far through the webinar. So if you want to be taken off mute and obviously you've got the function of being able to speak to us, then type in your question that we'll talk about later on, but also raise your hand so I know that you're somebody who wants to be taken and can be taken offline. This webinar is being recorded, so as attendees you will receive a copy of the recording, so check out your inbox. I normally send the webinars out using a service called wetransfer.com. Great service if you've not used it. We're going to be talking for about an hour, so grab a drink or some water. Make sure you turn off your phones. If you can, make sure you turn off your inbox for your emails so that you've got no distractions. Most of you will see from webinars before that I can actually get a bit of an idea if you're starting to wander around your computer a little bit, and trust me, when we take you off mute, the people who haven't paid attention are going to be the first ones that get asked to speak, if that's okay. We are going to be taking questions at the end. So again, you've got the question box, so type in your questions as we go along. So as you think of things, don't wait till the end, type them in, and then at the end we'll go through as many questions as we can and ask Rachel to go through them. And don't forget, stay on right to the end because we have got the offer that Rachel's providing as well. So tell you a little bit about our speaker. Rachel's is an independent business advisor, and she also is a consultant in social media based here in the UK. Quite a detailed background there, from quality assurance, due diligence, as an enforcement officer. That's an interesting one. But Rachel's travelled the world visiting, inspecting and dealing with nearly every type of business that you could possibly imagine, so quite a wealth of knowledge of various business sectors. More recently, Rachel's been working as a business advisor with startup businesses and existing businesses, and she's been working obviously on marketing strategies, as it mentions there. Very passionate, Rachel is, about how businesses develop and use newly available social media platforms to their advantage. And with her business, which she'll talk about I'm sure shortly, Rachel trains, advises and manages social media for businesses large or small, from corporates down to people obviously who have a small presence or no presence at all and looking to develop it on both Facebook, Twitter and of course on LinkedIn as well. So I'm going to hand over to Rachel now to give you the presentation. Please remember to type in questions as you go along in the box. Grab a drink. When you get taken off your mute, just bear with us a little bit with the satellite delay on the webinar, and we'll go through that as best as we can. So we're just going to swap over screens now, so just bear with us guys just for a minute while we change presenter slides. See if we can do this fairly seamlessly. Are you online, Rachel? Yep, great. Okay, so I'm just going to hand over to you now, so just bear with me a second.
Lovely, thank you very much. I'm just going to get this slide up and running for you. So hopefully in a second or two people will be able to see the first of my slides on the screen. So thank you to Simon for inviting me to come along and do this webinar for you tonight, particularly focusing on content for Facebook. It's one of the biggest problems I see that businesses have. It's very easy nowadays to set up a Facebook page. It just takes a few minutes, in fact, just to get one going. But where I see the biggest problem that businesses have is actually keeping it going. So that's what I want to concentrate on tonight, and we're going to talk about some opportunities that you can think about. What I've got is 10 tips for you, and I think it's quite a good idea if you have thoughts while you're going along, is just to make notes if you've got a pen and paper handy, because I'm hoping that you'll go away with some things that you'll instantly be able to start working on. But I think it would be useful for me to know what types of businesses that we've got online, and also if you are a marketing company or social media company, maybe what types of businesses your clients are, and then as I'm working through the slides, I can help to think about ideas for you, and I can mention them as we go through. So if you can type those in for Simon, in a couple of minutes time he's going to let me know who we have got online, so that would be really great. So let's just go through what I've got for you this evening then, and start off with, social media. It's just the biggest thing that has happened for me in business marketing. Years and years and years. As Simon said in the introduction, I've been a business advisor and I've been helping businesses for about 4.5 years now. So going back to January 2008. And when I was seeing businesses back there, and we were talking about, how are you going to market yourself? We were, talking about leaflets, logos, websites and things like that. But social media just wasn't a word which, to be honest, I'd even heard of. And it certainly wasn't something I was talking to clients about. It was only during 2008 that we started hearing this buzzword, and I started looking and seeing what was going on with businesses. So, I think, and this is why I'm so passionate about it, and I put it together with the business side, I genuinely think there has never been a better time to be somebody in business and to use platforms like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, which are actually free, and you can use them and you can practically talk to the whole of the world. And 20 years ago, we never had anything like this. So I'm so excited about what businesses can do with social media, but I do think that there is a way of actually doing it. So in today's webinar, Simon's asked me to concentrate on Facebook because it's obviously, the largest social media platform that people use. Um, it's an obvious choice if your business operates in a business to consumer market. So if you've got a product or service that's a consumer, you're selling to consumers, Facebook is absolutely perfect for you. I'm not saying that if you don't do business to consumer, you can't use it at all. I just think it's going to be a little bit harder for you to try to make Facebook work. But I've got some examples on the next screen for you. So the absolutely ideal businesses that would use Facebook would be something food related, weddings, fashions, lifestyle, children, animals, entertainment, all the things that you see there. And I think the reason why this works so well is because remembering that Facebook was actually created so that people could talk to each other. It was about actually talking to your family and friends. Businesses jumped on it and said, hey, we want a piece of this. We want to start talking to these people as well. But because what people talk to each other about is weddings, their children, fashion, what they've bought, where they went at the weekend. That's why Facebook is ideally suited for those types of businesses, because your business chat blends in with the same sort of chat that people have between themselves naturally. So where it gets a little bit more difficult for me is if you do a sector such as we've got here, building, health, or essential requirements. So maybe you sell food, but you sell everyday food. You don't have a lovely restaurant or a nice cafe where people have lattes and ice cream. So you have to think to yourself, what are people going to talk about that are everyday things? How are you going to make that exciting and get them to want to chat about it and want to be interested in what you're up to? So I think it can be done, but if you're in that sort of business sector, you're going to have to be a bit more creative, and it's going to take you more effort to actually think of things to put down. And then the last one we've got here on the bottom of this slide says, Facebook will be more challenging if your business is not suited to a chatty subject. So, what if you are a funeral director or a drain cleaner? They're both businesses that everybody needs, but how do you actually get into that chat, into that social aspect of it? That's where something like Facebook is going to be more difficult for you, and you may decide, if that is what your business is, that actually it is just too much hard work to try to make your business chatty, because that is what Facebook is all about. So I wonder if Simon has got a little bit of info for us on what types of businesses that we've got online tonight.
I am. Just give me a
second. Are you there, Simon?
Just a second. Yep, can you hear me okay?
Oh, I think Simon might have gone.
Yeah, I'm here.
So,
sorry about that.
Are you there?
Yeah, we've got
right, okay.
a varying range of businesses here. We've got Nikki, who deals in design and print. Katie, online recruitment.
Okay.
Roz, who has a lengthy description. She's basically a virtual assistant and uses Facebook for her own business and also to manage clients' Facebook pages. And she's got another comment here, and obviously she deals with other social media such as Twitter and LinkedIn as well. Janie is a web designer, and she's looking for some ideas of content for herself, as well as a variety of clients, from carpet cleaners to business consultants. I know we've got a couple of business coaches on here as well, a renovations coach, somebody who web design again, engineering. We've got Rob from The Works, which is obviously, I think Rob from the Lincolnshire Business Club. He's does obviously the Works publication and the Vippies Pet Services. Sorry, Rob, if I've not pronounced that correctly. So yeah, good wide-ranging sector of businesses, really.
Okay. Okay, excellent. That gives me something to work on when we're going through the rest of it. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Um, so, as I said earlier on, the most amazing thing for me about social media is the fact that it's free. Um, I really can't believe that. It's so exciting. But you are going to have to invest some time and effort into it. Um, and this is what we're going to look at tonight. The way that I look at it is that people are following you and they want to come on a journey with you, and they want to know something about your business. So when I try to help a client, I always try to put myself into their shoes and think, well, what would I follow? What would I be interested in? Would I feel really valued by that business if I saw this type of content? And so that's why I talk about varying the type of content that you send out so that you're not giving everybody the same thing all of the time. Um, the two areas where I have seen businesses have the biggest problem with social media is A, the quality of it, um, and B, not enough of it. So probably over the last 3 or 4 years, I've probably helped. I was trying to work this out. I've probably helped about 300 businesses set up Facebook pages. And I went back to some of them quite recently because I was thinking to myself, I'm not seeing any content from you coming out anymore. And I realised that a lot of them had stopped doing it. And I think it's because they didn't quite get their heads around thinking of things to put on it. So they started with a bit of a flourish, um, and and then they just kind of dwindled out because they thought, I don't know what to keep saying to people. So not enough content. You've got to find a way of keeping it going, and also I think the quality of it. I tend to benchmark my own business against companies which I would like to think that I hit the same sort of standards with. So, in terms of customer service and quality of product, I would like to benchmark my business against someone like Marks and Spencer's. So when you go to Marks and Spencer's, you know that you're not necessarily getting the cheapest item, but you know that you always get a good quality item, and things like that. So I always think when I put out social media, what am I giving to people? And I think, what are they following from me? So let me just show you on Facebook what's the main thing that you're really looking for. Because the way that Facebook works is the fact that it shares content. Um, and this happens when people either like the content that you've put out, or they comment on it, or they actually share that content for you. Um, and when they do that, when somebody actually does that with a comment that you've put out on Facebook, it sends that link virally to their friends. So if I commented on something that Marks and Spencer's did, it would go on my Facebook and it would tell all of my friends, Rachel has commented on this post that Marks and Spencer's have put out. And then my friends pick up on that and they might click on that link and have a look. So the biggest thing that you want with Facebook is you want interaction. So either you want people liking the comments, you want people commenting on them, or you want people sharing them. And this screenshot that I've got here is from something which Marks and Spencer's put out. And Marks and Spencer's are obviously lucky enough to have a huge brand name. Whenever they put anything out on their Facebook page, within 10 or 15 minutes, they've got a large amount of interaction going. The other thing to be aware of is that Facebook now sort of does its own quality control on what people see in the wall. So, when you click in your newsfeed and you see what your friends and family and what businesses you follow are up to, Facebook actually now decides what order you see that. And it's deciding itself to put content which it thinks is more important at the top of that newsfeed, and it's judging that content on how much interaction your business page is getting. So if you are continually putting out content which isn't getting any interaction at all, eventually you are going to get to the point where Facebook is going to rate your content quite low. So even though people have followed your page and said that they want to see that content, if their newsfeed has a lot of content in there to be shown on that particular day, Facebook's going to rank other people's content higher, so yours isn't necessarily going to be seen. So that's why it's so important that you do need these interactions. I have seen over the years that I've now been doing this, quite a few Facebook pages, and also I think it's pretty common on Twitter as well, just to send out the same message or the same newsfeed again and again and again. So, the example that we've got here on the screen now says, please buy my product, please buy my product, please do this, please do that, please do this. Again, if you put yourself into your customer's shoes, if all they're ever getting from you is that message, they're not actually getting anything more. They're not getting any of the social aspect of what social media should be about. Basically, they've just signed up to a newsfeed, haven't they? And if they wanted to sign up to a newsfeed, they could just sign up to an email newsletter or something like that. So, in terms of actual quality of your social media, that's why I think that you do have to vary what you put out. So let's go then with these 10 suggestions that I've got for you to try to vary what your content is that you put out. So number one is the one that you do want to do. So let's tackle that one first. General business updates. So I'm not saying don't tell people what your business is doing. Don't try and sell. I think, you still need to do that, but you need to do that in between doing other things as well. So general business updates, things that your business could put out there. You could tell people about new or existing products and services that you have. This could be telling people in a general area, or this could be just, saying, by the way, did you know I did this, or did you know we do that? Obviously telling people if you've got a new logo or new branding, something to shout about and tell people. Maybe update them if you've bought some new equipment, you've got new offices, new members of staff joining. That's an obvious time to actually put out a general business update. So I think that one's pretty easy for people to do because that's what most people want to do on social media. So I'll leave that one there and I'll move on to suggestion number 2 for you. So suggestion number 2 is to tell people a little bit more about your business. So going back to the idea that this is social media and it started with people talking to each other, I think when people follow businesses on Facebook, sometimes actually the customer doesn't necessarily realize that they're following a business because they don't think about the fact that they've clicked to follow your business. They've just clicked like on Facebook, and they tend to kind of forget that you're a business and you're not necessarily a person, if that makes sense. So I think sometimes it's nice to tell people a little bit more about your business, about behind the scenes, but not necessarily giving away too much information, but telling them something that they wouldn't know from a leaflet or from your website. So it just makes them feel like they get to know you a little bit better. So things that we could talk about is, perhaps you're off to a networking event, or you've just come back from an event and you met some people and you'd like to say hello to them on your social media. Maybe you're getting ready for a project. I mean, I think today, actually on Twitter, I said today, oh, I'm just preparing for a webinar, that sort of thing. Lets people know a little bit about my business, which they didn't know earlier on today. Maybe a customer's given you a really nice comment or feedback, and you can just say, had a lovely comment today from a customer, really appreciate that you've taken time out to say thank you. Or maybe you want to kind of give people an insight or a heads up to something which is happening in the future. So you might say, we're working on a new product or a new service, hope to bring this to you in a couple of weeks' time. Just, sorting out a logo or getting some ideas put together. So just tell people what you're doing, but don't necessarily let the cat out of the bag. But it's just making you look a little bit human, okay? You're not always business I want to sell to you speak. So that would be my tip number 2, is to just let people inside a little bit more to your business. My tip number 3 is just really to just occasionally say something nice, and just keep away from the selling, and just be a nice person, be a nice member of the community. So, sometimes it's not all about, do you want to buy from me? It's about, hey guys, it's really icy out there this morning. Just be a bit careful when you're driving to work. Something like that. People will appreciate the fact that you've taken time out just to give an extra comment or two, and show that you care. And actually, social media is a great way of telling people that you care, because it's just a second or two thought process, 30 seconds writing it onto your Facebook page, and you've shown your customers that you really do care about them. So I think that actually sometimes just stop, forget the selling, and just chat to your customers and see what's going on and be interested in them. Um, One of the biggest tips as a business advisor that we give to people, is that people buy from people. They don't necessarily buy from the business, they buy from the person behind the business. And I think, with any type of business, you've got to be interested in who your customers are. So a way of doing that is just to say something nice, and just, not always to sell, just think outside the box and show that you're actually there for them as well. So moving on to number 4, and then after this we'll ask you for a little bit of feedback so far. But number 4 for my content creation on Facebook would be to offer hints and tips. And there is a strategy to this. You want to make fans feel like they're getting something extra from your business. So something which they don't get just from buying the product or service that you do, and something which takes your business knowledge a little bit further. So the suggestion would be, hints and tips around your subject area. I wouldn't give people hints and tips that then necessarily mean that they don't need to use your business. So as a social media advisor, I don't necessarily send out lots of great information on my social media about the best hints and tips that I've got, because I save them for when I actually see customers. But I might give out hints and tips which are widely available out there in the social media arena anyway, and I might give out business hints and tips that would help people around their general business and not necessarily about social media. An example that I can give you which works really well on Facebook is any business that's like in the wedding industry. So say you're a florist or a photographer, and that you've got brides that are following you on Facebook, you might be able to give them some hints and tips around planning a wedding, or how to get through stress before a wedding. You might link them somewhere where there's a wedding planner or something which might be helpful to them. So it's not necessarily linked to you as a photographer, but it's linked to the subject which your fans are interested in. As a photographer on Facebook, you might give people some hints and tips on actually using their own camera, choosing a camera, because even as a professional photographer, you can't deny the fact that most people have got cameras of their own. So, if they're going to take photographs of their own, it doesn't mean that they don't need to use you as a professional photographer on occasions. Um, but actually, if you just show that you are willing to help them actually use their own camera when they need to for their own family events and maybe meals out, things like that, you're actually showing that you have an expertise in that subject area, and that you're not so precious about what you do, that you're not willing to help people. So I'm just coming back and looking at the list that Simon gave me earlier on to see what type of businesses that we've got on here. So the person who does online recruitment, you might give away a couple of hints and tips on CV writing, maybe hints and tips on how to prepare for an interview. You probably do it anyway. And in all honesty, these hints and tips, if anyone Googled them, would be widely available on the internet. But by you putting out a hint and a tip, it does make you look like you really genuinely do care about your clients, and the people that you're trying to fill the jobs for as well, because you're trying to prepare the people for the jobs. So what I would do with hints and tips is maybe do one a week or one a fortnight or something like that, and be consistent with them. Um, Business consultants, obviously talking around business in general, so you could do a marketing tip, a bookkeeping tip, something like that. Um, Lifestyle and coaches and people that do that kind of activity, you might do, I mean, you've probably got a few freebies that you would give anyway on a PDF or something people might be able to download from your website. Again, just put those out every now and again. Just thinking about the carpet cleaner, actually, the lady who's got the client who's a carpet cleaner. They might do things in hints and tips that are related to actually maybe choosing carpets or interior design or something like that. So something around carpets and homes, but not necessarily about cleaning your carpets, because that would obviously take their business away from them. So hints and tips, I think you should be putting those out, but don't give people so much information that they don't actually need to use your own business, because then you're just selling yourself short really, and doing yourself out of your own business. So I wonder if people can type into Simon so far and see, we've got 6 more hints and tips to go. What's the number one takeaway that we've had from this so far? So I get a feel for what people are getting from this, and I can think how to add more to it if I can do for the future. So if you can just type into Simon, and we shall
Yeah,
see
what
what
I'm
we've
probably
got
going to do,
so
Rachel,
far.
if it's okay, is take people off mute and pick on a few
Uh-huh.
people off the list to share their grateful
Yeah.
tip that they've learnt from this. I've got a few people typing things in now, so what I'll probably do, if it's okay with you guys, is take you off mute,
Okay.
and if you can just sort of tell us who you are and what number one thing you've taken away so far. So um, let's just see if we can get this working okay. So we'll take Janie Thompson off of mute, if that's okay. So just bear with me, Janie, while I take you off. So you should be unmuted now. Are you there, Janie? Hi, you.
Hi there, yep, I'm here.
Hi, Janie.
Okay, well, I think the biggest takeaway for me so far is I think I was kind of overthinking it and thinking that absolutely every bit of content that I produced had to be, kind of really cutting edge and really something that no one else had done. And, and there's a huge time factor in that. But actually what I've taken away from, I think, is that the social aspect is really important, and, just engaging and as you say, maybe commenting on the weather, or, asking people how they are, or, that kind of thing is equally, engaging to them. So maybe I've been sort of frightening myself a bit with it all.
I think when I got married a couple of years ago, and when I bought my wedding dress, it was obviously quite a big purchase for me, and it really made me feel important that the shop that I bought my wedding dress from, kept messaging me on Facebook and saying, hi Rachel, how's it going? Is there anything we can help you with? They weren't trying to be the best designers in the world. They weren't trying to, be the best. Do you know what I mean? But they were just really
Yeah.
interested in me, and off the back of that, myself and the lady that owns the shop have built up a really, really good relationship. And I will go and sing their praises to everyone that wants to get married, and that's just off the back of them being interested in me. So yeah, really, really just showing that you value your clients just by talking to them can turn them into,
Okay.
loyal customers
Great.
for life.
Thanks, Jenny. I'm just going to mute
Absolutely.
you back up there. Thank you very much. Okay. If I can just, we've got Fiona on the line here, so if I can just take Fiona off of mute. I don't know if you're able to speak or not, but let's just take you off and see if you are. So Fiona, if you're able to, just confirm you're there, and yep, I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. I've been listening intently, and at this point, there's probably not a lot that I've learned that's new, unfortunately. But I think that's probably because my background is possibly a little bit more technical than perhaps this is actually aimed at. But one thing that I missed the beginning of the webinar, unfortunately. One thing I would ask, I'm slightly confused about the difference between the Facebook page, and I've got, for what I've got, I've actually got a company, I don't know if it's called a page, and it's about the contact details on the image. We fell foul of that almost, because you're not allowed to have any contact details on your timeline thing. Is that correct, or have I misread that when I read the T's and C's?
No, that is correct. Obviously, Facebook recently changed all business pages over to the timeline format, which then made them have to have a cover image at the top. And when you click on to upload that cover image, when you go into the terms and conditions, you are right. It's not supposed to have contact information on there.
Okay, so, that's good. I'm glad you said that, because I was a bit confused on that one.
No.
One question that I'd quite like to sort of hear a little bit more about is integrating just basic Facebook with other aspects of not just social media, but just in terms of a full marketing strategy.
Okay.
So being able to actually start to get people to link into my website so that I can capture data from them, and then start integrating into an email campaign, or taking them through if we're going to do our own webinars, or just look at our products, that kind of thing. So for me, I don't want to look at Facebook standalone. I'd like to integrate it, but I guess that's probably another seminar in itself.
What we could probably do, Fiona, is see how the rest of the webinar goes, and probably cover that in the questions and answers at the end when we've got a bit more time. And if we overrun a little bit trying to go through that, then I'm sure both of us are quite happy to stay online and talk that through in the questions and answers, if that's okay.
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, but thanks for that, Fiona.
That's
a good
great.
point about the timeline. I'm sure a lot of people are confused of what they can put up there and what they can't put up there. So thanks for that. And I'm just going to take you off mute now.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure.
I'll just put you back on mute. Just bear with me a second. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Okay, we've got a couple of other things on here, Rachel, as well, that people have sort of put on there, which I'm not going to take people off mute for, but Matt says basically the balance between business and general chatter, and I know that's one of the questions that's come up that we'll probably talk about a little bit later on. Roz is grateful for the ideas of what to post. So yeah, generally tends to be a bit of a theme around time as well. So yeah, we'll let you crack on, shall we?
Okay, time's a big problem. Right, okay. Right, so let's do, I've got 6 more content ideas for you. And then, as Simon said, we can do some questions and answers at the end. So let's go on to number 5, which is special offers. So I actually think, personally, I think that having to give special offers isn't necessarily, that you don't necessarily have to do it nowadays. I think a couple of years ago, people tended to want to have a special offer if they followed you on Facebook. So I was definitely seeing people wanting, because they'd followed you on Facebook, to have your product or service a little bit cheaper, or to occasionally have a special offer. I actually think we've moved away from that now, and I don't think it's so important. But it is something which you still can do. So offer people which follow you on Facebook a little bit of a discount or something. The trick to this is giving away a little bit of something extra, but actually something which doesn't cost you very much. So a good example would be maybe someone who does massages, maybe they did a 40-minute massage as standard, and they would maybe offer a 50-minute massage or an hour's massage instead of 40 minutes. So actually what they're giving away is 20 minutes worth of time. It doesn't cost them any money apart from the fact that they maybe can fit one less client in a day. If they had time to do that anyway, it's actually cost them nothing other than an extra 20 minutes. So, hairdressers can do this sort of thing where they can give someone maybe a free cut if they were having highlights or a colour. They could do people that do nails can do a free polish if you're having your hand nails and your foot nails done as well. So it is about giving away a little bit of something, but actually not giving away everything. If people have still got to buy your main product or service. And where the businesses which use this really effectively are the businesses which fill dead time. So say your carpet cleaner has a bit of slack time, he's looking in his diary for next week, and actually he's got 3 days completely clear at the moment. So he might then put a special offer out and offer 2 carpets cleaned for the price of 1 or something like that, which fills dead time in his diary anyway. So yeah, special offers, giving people a little bit more than they got normally, but not giving people too much. Just want to make it clear though, because we just touched on it very briefly in those questions, Facebook do have very strict terms and conditions about what you can do on the page. One of them, yes, is about the information that you can have on that cover image, and the other second thing that they are very hot about is how you run things on your page. So what I'm talking about here is special offers. It's about you putting out something which is a special offer. I'm not talking about running a competition, which Facebook have very strict rules about. What you can't do on your business timeline, or what Facebook tell you can't do, is actually run a competition where you ask people to share that piece of content, like that piece of content, or comment on it in order to enter the competition. What they want is competitions are actually run separately off of an app, which is something which you can add to your timeline. So people do it. I've seen lots of them. But what you need to know is if you do actually run a competition on your timeline, you are running the risk that if Facebook saw it, they would actually well, A, they'd ask you to remove it. B, they could actually shut down your page. I think you'd be unlucky if they did that, but they could do. So special offers, it's a great way of filling dead time that you've got in your calendar. So that's when I would use a special offer. I think probably the other thing just to say here also is don't give away special offers too often, because if people think, oh, well, I won't buy from you this week because next week you'll be running a special offer because you always do 2 a month, then you're never going to start selling your product at full price. So for me, a special offer needs to be special. Okay, so moving on to number 6 then, and Facebook actually give you this now on the timeline. It used to be an app that you had to add on, and this is the facility to ask a question. So you can see on the box that I've got on the screen, I've just highlighted where you click on it. So if you go onto your timeline, you'll be able to click that button and ask a question. So you could write your question in, and you can also set the poll answers that you give people to choose. You can also let people add their own answers on if you want people to. Depends who you think your customers are and what they might write as to whether or not you let them do that. But again, going back to this idea that we are, businesses are using social media for this. People love being asked for their opinion. They like to think your business is listening to them, and they like to think that you are interested in what they have to say. So if you are thinking of, we're looking at some new products that we might be buying, or we're thinking of doing a new logo design, or we're just thinking of changing our window, what should we put in it this week, occasionally it might be quite interesting to actually ask the people that follow you on Facebook and say, we've got 3 options for doing this. Which one would you want to see? It's really interesting because you're doing 2 things here. One, you're actually showing people that you're interested in their opinion. And secondly, you're actually getting feedback from them. And, you're doing a bit of market research. So the people who are answering your question don't really realise, but actually they're telling you more of what they'd like to see, which is information for you to make your business better. So asking a question, I think, is really useful, and I think I'm ever so pleased that Facebook have now added this as standard to the timeline. And so I would just be doing this at least once a month and just sneakily getting a bit of feedback back from your customers, although they don't necessarily realise it. So ask a question. Definitely, I would get people involved. So let's go on to number 7, and this basically, the next 4 bits is my 4 best bits of content for you. So number 7 is to add photographs. As it says here on the slide, this new timeline format has made photographs even so more important. If you go back after this and look at your own business Facebook page, or hop around and look at some others, and if you see how Facebook is now putting out these status updates, the status updates which don't have a photograph or a web link attached to them are now very small in the timeline. So if people go back onto your Facebook page at a later date, there are bits of information which can be lost. Particularly if you're putting out a lot of status updates, you might find it doesn't have the impact that you want it to. So I think photographs are going to be so much more important now on this new timeline format. The example that we've got here on the screen is when I, as my business Facebook page, said something nice at Christmas and wished people a Merry Christmas. I didn't just send it out with the sentence, wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. I actually bought a stock photograph that I could use for editorial purposes, and I sent the message out with that photograph, and it made that status update almost 5 times the size of what it would have been if that photograph hadn't have been included. And it had a huge visual effect as well, because we all know the saying, a photograph says 1,000 words. That's what photographs can do for you on your timeline. But for some businesses, it's going to be a bit trickier to always have visual content to put out. And in fact, as a consultant, my business is one of these as well, which struggles from this type of activity. So I don't know whether or not you've noticed, as we've been clicking through these slides, with the number that goes with each slide, I've had a little graphic that goes around it. So you can see on this slide that I've got here, I've got my logo, which is usually green. You can see at the bottom, it's actually been made into a little pink bubble with the little bird and the little logo across the top. So what I've had done from my graphic designer is he's created me about 30 different types of this sort of image. So I've got squares, I've got triangles, I've got circles, and I've got about 10 different colours. And what I'm going to be doing with these images is that whenever I've got something to say and I haven't got a photograph which goes with it, I'm going to be using one of these images that go with it, and just maybe putting the headline on this image. that way on Facebook, it's going to make that status update so much bigger and bolder, which is going to have a huge impact. So that would be one of my top tips for anyone who hasn't got content, is to create something that you can make content out of, even if you just put your headline on there. The other thing that I would do with photographs is, if you have a business that can get your fans involved, ask them to upload photographs to your page, because that's going to do two things. Is A, it's going to give you content which you don't have to put on there yourself, and secondly, the fact that they have added that to your page has sent out a viral message to their friends, so it's sending out that viral sharing aspect. So that's what I would do with photographs. So let me go on to number 8, and you'll hopefully see when your screen comes up that I've got a different one of my logos there. So that's how I'm using those. Local knowledge, really only important if you're a local based business. So if you're a national business, I probably wouldn't get too involved with this. But for local based businesses, it's about just being more than just a business. Okay, so it's just showing people again that you're not all about the sell. You are a nice person, and you're a community person, community business, and you want to get involved in things. So if my local school were having a summer fair or something like that, I might put out on my Facebook page, knowing that I have got lots of people in the local area who A, would be interested, or B, might be going. I might wish them good luck, or hope that it doesn't rain, or I might send out an update to say, the day before, in case anyone hasn't remembered, the school's doing its fun day tomorrow, something like that. So I think but it is only important if you have got a local based business. If you try to add your local knowledge to it and you've got a national business, you're actually going to send out an update which is kind of 90% not relevant to the people that are actually following you. So if that is the case, I wouldn't actually get involved in this one. But if you are a business that is at the heart of the community, again, I think by showing it on your Facebook page and by getting people involved and talking about that conversation on your Facebook page, I think it makes you look like a better all-rounded business. And again, people do business from people. Okay, so this one here that we're going on to now, number 9, is probably my best tip, to be perfectly honest with you. Piggybacking. It's about making your business relevant to a topical or a national story, and it could be related to the news, celebrities, television, anything like that. What you do with this is you basically take a subject which people are talking about anyway, and you relate your business to it if you can find a way of doing that. So celebrities do this. You might not realize this, but celebrities do this all the time, because they obviously are always vying for attention, and celebrities want to be talked about in the news. They say that they don't, but they do, because that's how they get more fans and make higher fees. So what celebrities do is they link themselves to things that are happening. So a good example of this was a couple of years ago when they were redoing the X Factor panel. I know some people won't be interested in it, but you can't deny that people were talking about X Factor. You couldn't actually get away from it, because I can't remember, did they lose 3 of the panelists? So there was a completely new panel. It was a bit of a reshuffle. What you had at that period of time, and you might not realised it, but what you had was loads of celebrities came out of the woodwork, and they were releasing their own PR stories saying, oh, Simon Cowell's talking to me about X Factor, and oh, I could do this, and I could be the new that, and they were linking themselves to the X Factor story, which then got them coverage because the X Factor story was getting coverage. So they were doing an absolutely perfect thing and talking about something which people were talking about anyway, and making them link to that story. So how would we do this as a business? Okay, so it's what I would say is it's about having your eyes open and just seeing what you see when you're out and about. And if you think, oh, I could link to that, I could do this, then you go back and you make a story out of it. So let's do some examples then. Some that I've got here for you. Just find the page. Okay, so obviously the Olympics. Okay, Olympics coming to the UK, massive story. There's going to be no getting away from it whatsoever. So how do you link your business to that? Now, there are very strict guidelines about actually using the word Olympics and logos and things like that. So do be very, very careful. But let's say you are a lifestyle coach, or you are a counsellor, or someone who helps people with anxiety and things like that. Could you make a story on the day that is the 100-metre or 110-metre hurdles final about, 10 ways to reach your goal and jump over your hurdles? Things like that. You can talk about a big story that's being talked about on a particular day and relate one of those keywords to something that you do. So you send out a status update and go, 110-metre hurdle final is tonight. I'm going to give you 10 tips on jumping your own hurdles and reaching your own goals. And what you've done is you've piggybacked off of a story which is going to be very big news that day anyway, and used a couple of key words that people are going to be thinking about. And what will happen is that when people later on, maybe they'll catch it on the news and they'll see the hurdles final, they'll think, oh yeah, I knew that was happening today because I remember reading it this morning on your business Facebook page. Another thing that you could do, I'm going back to the list of businesses that I've got here. We've got someone who does the carpet cleaning, and we've got online recruitment again. Maybe you've watched something on television, so maybe you watch a soap opera. Okay, I'm not saying go and watch something which you don't watch, but maybe you happen to be watching EastEnders because you watch it anyway. And I mean, I don't watch EastEnders, but I think there was a character who was quite well known, Pauline Fowler, and I think it was quite well known that her house was a bit sort of gloomy, and it was quite dark. So maybe as a carpet cleaner, you just happen to be watching EastEnders one day, and it focuses quite a lot on Pauline Fowler's house. Obviously, I don't think she's in it anymore, so you'd have to pick a different character. And maybe you just type something on your Facebook page which says, do you know what? I'd really love to go and clean Pauline Fowler's carpets. And if your fans watch EastEnders as well, do you know what? They'll start getting involved and they'll start talking about something with you. And before you know it, you're talking to people about cleaning carpets, and subtly, because they don't really realise it. So that's how you piggyback off of other businesses. So what we can do is maybe at the end, if anyone thought of any ideas for anyone else, we could perhaps share them. But I'll be able to talk to people in more detail later in my special offer about that. So let me do the last one then. Number 10, my contact creation is giving your business a personality. So this isn't going to be suitable for all. It's probably more suitable to national businesses where people don't necessarily know the person behind the business, but you want your business to have a certain style. So maybe you would develop a business voice which you always speak on your Facebook page with. So again, going back to my Marks and Spencers, you know that Marks and Spencers always come out with a certain quality of information, and they always come out with a certain style. You can develop that as a national business for yourself. The example that I would use is a company called moo.com. If you look them up on Facebook, you'll find they've got quite a big Facebook page. They actually do business cards and printing, but they do a bit more sort of funky and individual stuff. But their personality on Twitter is about talking about things like chocolate bars. So sometimes they'll just say, oh, we're going to have a chocolate bar today. What should we have? And they talk about stuff that they think that their customers are interested in. So they've kind of given their business a style as if it was a person, and they've sort of given it likes and interests, and then you talk about that parameter. So that's a tip that I would use if you was a national business and you wanted to be more known as your brand and not necessarily known as your person. So there are my 10 top tips, and I've just got one more slide, sorry, two more slides to show you before we hand back to Simon. I think what I haven't been able to cover in this seminar tonight is going through all of the Facebook insights. If you have a proper Facebook page, Facebook give you this facility called Insights, free of charge, and you can click in there and you can get all this great information about who likes your page, what they're clicking on, how many people have interacted with a certain comment. And what I would do is I would go into there and I would have a look around at the different things that they give you. There's quite a lot of information, so I don't think you need to look at it all. But if you are starting to notice that your general trend is going down, then you need to think to yourself, right, I'm not putting out content which people are interacting with. So have a look at the content that you put out recently and see if it differs from the content which you put out previously, which got higher interaction. And go back and try to change what you do and say, actually, that bit of content there had ever so many people liking it and commenting it and sharing it. What was that content? And let me go back and make more of that kind of content. So that's how I would use Insights. You need to be making sure that you are putting out the best content possible. And the last slide that I want to show you is really very, very basic. But it's kind of like a diary system that I use when I help businesses with Facebook. So what you've got on the screen now is basically a monthly calendar. So it's got all the days of the month in. I print off for each business that I deal with 12 of these. So I've got the whole year planned out ahead of me, spread out on the table, and I sit down and I spend a whole day doing content. So I say, right, Olympics is coming up, I want to remember that in July. Christmas is coming up, I want to remember to do this. And that way you're not thinking about what do I do on my Facebook page, because you've already planned the content. So that's all of what I wanted to tell you. I think Simon would like to put on some questions. So I hope that
thanks, Rachel.
we've got
Thanks
a few.
for that. Just one quick question from my point of view. Obviously, you've got a great plan up there of how you can schedule your updates. Is that something that perhaps you might be able to send to me as a PDF, and I can send it out with a video so people can use it to plan their Facebook? Right. Okay. No problem.
Absolutely.
Okay. So hopefully everyone now can see my screen with some questions. Just before we go through the questions, because I know we've got a few here and we've overrun slightly. I just want to remind people to log on to the sterlingmarketingacademy.com website, have a look around it. If you haven't had a look at it already, then obviously have a go with a free trial and just get stuck in there and get it done. And just so you guys don't lose out, there's a quick screenshot there of the bonus that Rachel's offering, which I'm going to ask her to talk about after we've answered some questions, but there is an email address down there at the bottom, so if you do want to arrange a free session with Rachel, either by phone or by Skype, please email her at hello@rachel-perry.co.uk. So I'm going to leave that up there while we just cover some questions, if that's all right, Rachel. And I've got 4 quite key questions that have come up a couple of times. The first one is, and probably the shortest one to answer, is where is the line to draw between personal content and business content?
I think for me, you have a Facebook page which is separate to your personal Facebook profile, and I would never, on any of my social media that goes out as a business, I would never talk about having a few drinks or maybe personal things that we were doing. I would always make it relevant to the business. Maybe sometimes giving away a little bit of information about myself, but I would never share on that business things that really should just be shared with family and friends. For me, there is quite a clear sort of business personal line. So sometimes it's letting people know a little bit more, but it's not necessarily giving them everything. You don't have to give you everything about yourself on your business page. It should be mainly
great. Thanks
business
for that. Hopefully that's
related.
cleared that one up quite quickly. Obviously, Fiona asked a question about integrating Facebook with other social media, website, and perhaps other marketing. Any sort of top tips that we might be able to have a quick chat about with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the facility to send one update out on one of your social media platforms and the fact that it then goes to all of them. I like to treat the people that follow me on Facebook independently and give them content that Facebook likes, and it may be content that's different to you would put out on LinkedIn or you would put out on Twitter. But also you do need to tie everything in. Again, one of the biggest things that I do see is that people go and set up social media platforms, but then they never tell people where they are. And you have got to promote them offline. So you can get the plugins, which would be sort of a little Facebook box, which you can then add to your website. And that's really easy. When people are looking at your website, they can then find you on Facebook just by clicking a button. I put my links on my emails. I put links on my leaflets. So everything goes out coordinated, but I may not send the same content out to each platform. It depends on who I'm reaching and who's on which platform.
Makes sense. Okay. And another question, how many times a day, this is a question from Matt, how many times a day would you post on Facebook? And he's added a little caveat there, and on Twitter. So how many times would you put stuff on there?
I think Facebook and Twitter are very different, so completely different number of times. I think on Facebook it does depend on A, what type of business you've got, and B, how many fans you've got. For my business, I mainly am business to business, so my Facebook page is really there only for show. I might post something out on there once a week. If I was a wedding photographer or someone like that who was doing business to consumer and I had 200 or 300 fans, I would probably post something out once every 2 days. If I was picking up more fans than that, I would try to repost something every day if that's where my customers were. On Twitter, well, it is really difficult. The thing about Twitter is that your content has a lot shorter life than on Facebook. So again, depending on who you're trying to reach, I tend to try to send at least 5 or 6 tweets a day. I try not to send hundreds because I don't like to bombard people. But I would say that if you're not sending at least a couple a day, actually not very visible at all.
Rob's asked a question here about using the event section of Facebook and really how to make the most of using that without putting people off. So how would you get the most out of an event section?
I think again, most of it's got to be about your event, so it's got to be an event that people want to come to. I would certainly create the event and invite people to it. You know who follows you on Facebook because you can see who they are. So if you think that your event is only suitable to 30% of the people that do follow you, I would plug it once or twice, but then I wouldn't plug it to death because actually you're plugging it to people who wouldn't be interested. So you've got to kind of think how much you do push it. I think creating a nice picture, and actually the main thing about Facebook, and actually we haven't really said this, is actually the biggest key to it is getting across your enthusiasm for your business. So whatever it is, if it is carpet cleaning, carpet cleaning is an essential, but you've got to show people that you love you love what you do, and getting that through, writing about your event and being excited about it is the biggest way
Great. Okay,
about getting
thanks. And I
people
think that's
there.
really important because Facebook is about attracting business. There's no doubt about it. And if you're passionate, then you'll attract more
Yeah.
business, obviously, than putting boring content up there and not showing that really you're interested in other people's businesses and particularly you're not interested in your own. Yeah, great. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to make no apologies really for answering a couple more questions because I think we've got some good questions here and the answers are hopefully are being really useful to the group. Obviously, we've still got most of you online at the moment. You are welcome to drop off as you want, but we will keep going until we've answered the questions that have come up, if that's okay. Um, photograph uploads by fans is a great idea. Dan's asked if there's any particular way that this should be done. So, is there a thread that can be used? Do they just upload them whenever they want? And how can you review those photos to make sure you're accepting, photos that you're happy with, really?
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. There is behind the scenes on your Facebook page. There is a spam filter in which you can add certain words to. So if people write comments that go with photographs and they've written a certain word on there, you can get it to fall into the spam filter so that you can review it first. I think what you've got to do is you've got to ask people for what you'd like to see. So, again, it's going to be easier for some businesses than others. The carpet cleaning business, you might take your own before and after photograph and put them up yourself. What I would be slightly more wary about is for you asking your customers to put up your pictures of the rooms, because that could basically be showing people what you've got inside your house. So I would, if I was you, I would take the photographs and make sure you only get the carpet in or get a small piece in, rather than saying, oh, and look at that lovely shelf they've got full of china. And do you know what I mean? So I think some businesses can use it more than others. Again, pets, weddings, things like that. I mean, it's one of the first things I wanted to do after we got married was put some of the photos up. So actually, depending on the type of business that you're in, people will want to share the content naturally, and if they've shared it, there's not a problem about privacy because they're the one that's chosen to put it up there. But I think what you've got to do is just ask people, say, we'd love to see your pictures. Please put them up. And if they do, don't forget to
But
go and
just
thank
so
them
we're
for
clear
doing it.
in my mind in particular as well, and Dan's asked this, I understand the spam side of it, but can we actually review the photos and see the photos before they go onto the timeline, or do they go up there automatically?
If it doesn't fall into the spam filter, I think it will just go up there automatically, because it doesn't have that tagging unless they've tagged you, in which you might be able to see it. But no, it will just go up if you've given them the option to load the picture.
Yeah. So you
It
basically
will
giving
just go
people
up. Yeah.
permission, and then you've got to hope that they upload a correct photo. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
no
Then
problem.
you've got to monitor it.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question here: if information's readily available on Google, as you mentioned earlier on, how can my content be different? So if you're saying the same thing as everybody else, how can you put something on Facebook that stands out?
You could just add the wording, twist your personality onto it. You could give examples along with the content. So like what I've done this evening. I've given a tip to say put this stuff out on Facebook, and then I've given some examples of what you could use. I think the other thing that you need to just be aware of is that although content is readily available in a lot of places, it doesn't mean that people have found it in those other places first. So there's always going to be somebody who is reading something that you've put out
and I think that's
for the first time.
Yeah, we assume that
even though
everybody
it's
has
available.
access and has the willing knowledge to go out and find it, but quite often the case is they're not. So I'm just going to cut questions off there. I think we've answered most of them that are there. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your offer that's part of the bonus of this webinar?
Yeah, what I thought I could do is if people have got Facebook pages already, or if people want to just have a discussion about Facebook a bit more in depth than what we've done, I can do a free telephone call, Skype call with them. Be useful if we're going to talk about a Facebook page that's in existence. It'd be useful if you could email me the link to that Facebook page so I can have a look at it, and then we'll arrange a time on email when we can actually have a look at it and discuss it, and hopefully I can then take what I've given you today and I'll be able to even tailor it more for you so that you can
Great,
get even
great.
more
Thanks for that.
out of this.
Well, I think we've covered all the questions there, and we've run 15 minutes over, so I apologise for no. That's fine. No, it's been great and great
Sorry.
content, and obviously it's stimulated some good questions as well. Please, guys, for those of you who are still online, look out for the next Academy Masterclass webinar that's coming up. We've got a full series coming up with some guest speakers and some which are pure content from the Academy. So have a look at that. All that remains really is to thank Rachel for being our guest presenter, and it's been great content. Thank you very much on behalf of everybody that's on board for that. Obviously, you will get a recording, guys, of the webinar. It does take me a couple of days to get my admin person to get it edited and get it sent off to you, so please look out for that. And Rachel, if you can perhaps send me that plan as a PDF, and we can unashamedly send it out with a video, and I know it's got your contact details on there as well. And just to go back a slide, don't forget, make use of the free bonus 25-minute session with Rachel. Hello at rachel-perry.co.uk. Thanks so much, guys, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next webinar. Thank you very much.